The winter evening was colder than anyone had expected, the kind of cold that didn't just sting the skin but seeped into the bones like a silent punishment. At a dimly lit bus stop on the edge of the city, a young woman sat curled up on the frozen bench, her trembling arms wrapped around her knees, her breath visible in small white clouds that drifted and vanished into the night. Her clothes were thin, not meant for winter, her hair uncombed, her eyes red and swollen from hours of crying. People walked past her, glancing only long enough to convince themselves to look away again. She looked like someone the world had forgotten, someone who didn't belong to the warmth inside homes or the laughter echoing from decorated holiday shops. She looked broken, the type of broken that didn't make noise anymore. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of simple human connection, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread, because stories like these deserve to be heard. Her name was Mara. Just weeks ago she had a life that looked stable from the outside. A small apartment, a job at a local diner, dreams small enough to manage and big enough to hope for. But life had a way of collapsing suddenly, like a bridge that seemed strong until the moment it wasn't. Her mother had fallen ill, medical bills piled up faster than she could earn, and she found herself choosing between paying rent and keeping her mother alive. She chose her mother. But she didn't know that kindness didn't always come back, and landlords didn't wait. After a missed payment, she was thrown out, and the last bit of furniture she owned had been sold to buy her mother's medicine. When her mother passed away anyway, Mara felt like the world had played a cruel joke on her, taking everything she had tried so desperately to save. For the last 3 days, she had been sleeping on buses, waiting rooms, or anywhere with a roof. On this fourth night, she simply didn't have the strength to keep pretending she was okay. As snowflakes swirled around her, melting on her bare legs, Mara tried to keep herself from breaking down but failed miserably. Her body shook with silent sobs, and she pressed her hand against her mouth as if trying to hold the pieces of her life together. People came, people went, but no one stopped. Responsibility, fear, and indifference kept them walking. They were busy, they were tired, they were cold. And Mara sat alone in the storm, convinced that maybe the world wasn't cruel, maybe it was simply uninterested. A few yards away, a small girl with curly brown hair stepped out of a car with her father. She wore a peach-colored jacket and boots that lit up with each step. She was supposed to be excited, she loved snow. But her eyes caught on something else instead, the trembling young woman sitting alone at the bus stop. The girl's face softened, her curiosity replaced by concern far too mature for her age. She tugged lightly at her father's sleeve, pointing at the woman whose shaking shoulders told a story even a child could understand. Her father glanced and frowned, unsure whether to intervene. Life had taught him to be cautious, but the innocence of his daughter pushed past the boundaries of adult hesitation. Before he could stop her, the little girl stepped toward the bus stop, her boots crunching through the snow, her small arms instinctively stretching outward as if she already knew what she wanted to do. Mara noticed her only when tiny footsteps stopped beside her. She blinked, startled, wiping her face quickly, embarrassed to be crying in front of a child. Tears still clung to her eyelashes, glistening under the streetlight like fragile crystals. The girl smiled gently, not in pity but in warmth, the kind of smile that reaches deep into the heart and reminds the broken that they are still visible. In a soft, innocent voice filled with empathy, the little girl spoke the words that made the world pause around them. "I think you need a hug. Can I hug you?" And in that moment, everything inside Mara collapsed. All the walls she had built, all the strength she tried to fake, all the bitterness life had forced into her, it all shattered. She didn't move at first, shocked that anyone, especially a child, would approach her with love instead of judgment. But when the little girl stepped closer, Mara's face crumbled into the most vulnerable expression a person could show, and she nodded, barely managing to breathe. The child wrapped her tiny arms around her, pressing her warm cheek against Mara's cold shoulder. Mara bent forward, burying her face in the girl's small jacket, and sobbed uncontrollably, releasing days, weeks, maybe years of held-in pain. The girl didn't let go. She held her tighter, whispering the kind of gentle reassurance that only children can give, not through words, but through pure, unconditional presence. Her father watched from a short distance, his eyes softening as the scene unfolded. Something inside him shifted too, a reminder that goodness still existed, even in the smallest hearts. Mara eventually pulled away, wiping her eyes, still trembling but now with a strange new feeling spreading slowly inside her, hope, faint but real. She tried to apologize for crying, for being a mess, for everything, but the child simply smiled again as if none of that mattered. The father approached now, slower and more careful, offering Mara his jacket and asking if she had eaten. Mara shook her head, stunned by the sudden kindness. He offered to buy her a warm meal nearby, not out of pity, but out of human decency. Mara hesitated, and used to anyone caring, but the child grabbed her hand, and somehow that simple touch convinced her to stand. They walked together through the snowfall, the little girl swinging Mara's hand gently, humming soft melodies as if to comfort her. Inside the small cafe, the warmth felt overwhelming. Mara couldn't stop shaking, not from cold but from disbelief. She ate slowly, savoring each bite, tears falling silently now, not from pain but from the realization that maybe her life wasn't over. Maybe she wasn't invisible. Maybe kindness, even in small doses, could heal parts of her she thought were permanently broken. As they talked, the father learned her story, listening with compassion instead of judgment. By the time they finished eating, he had called a friend who worked at a local women's shelter. Within an hour, Mara had a place to sleep, warm clothes, and people willing to help her rebuild. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a beginning, something she hadn't had in a long time. If this story has touched your heart, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Your support helps spread more real-life stories of hope and humanity. Before we end, I have a special request. Please comment a red heart if you believe kindness can change lives. And as Mara took one last look at the little girl who had changed everything with a simple hug, she realized something profound. Sometimes the smallest arms can lift the heaviest hearts, and sometimes the simplest words can save a life that was quietly fading away.